Hey everybody, this week we are going to go over Chapter 6 of Atomic Habits by James Clear. The chapter is Motivation is Overrated, Environment Often Matters More. Let's get started. The overarching theme of this chapter is our environments dictate our cues more than we suspect they do. We always think that it's actions that we take, that we're making the conscious decision to make choices, when really it's the environmental cues around us that the majority of the time are pushing us to make choices. An example from a book is there was a physician at a hospital that wanted to try to increase water intake versus soda intake in the hospital staff. So what they did is in the cafeteria, versus lecturing people on them drinking more water, they took and ensured there was water available in all of the drinking areas. At the register, they had baskets of water they set just all over the place throughout the cafeteria. And they found after a year that the water intake had increased by 25% and the sales of soda had dropped almost 12%, just by putting the cues, more water easily accessible, around the cafeteria. You know, I mention all the time, out of sight, out of mind. Well, this is in sight, in mind. You can use the cues both directions. If you want to have a good habit, make it simple, make it apparent. If you want to get rid of a bad habit, then make it invisible. People often choose products not because of what they are, but because of where they are. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. Think about this. If you go to the grocery store and let's say you go down an aisle, are you more likely to look at the very top or the very bottom? You're more likely to look at the eye level section. This is actually why companies pay a lot of money to have their premium products at eye level. People are more likely to purchase it if they see it right in front of them. Less likely to bend down or reach up. The end caps are a good example. I believe the book talks about 45% of Coca-Cola's profits come from people getting soda and things off end caps. Why? High traffic, high visibility. The more available and more obvious something is, the more likely we are to try that product. Now, this can be applied to doing carnivore. The stuff in your face, the constant reminder, having a platter of cookies on a counter versus it not being there. The cue is instantly there. It starts from probably just a sense of smell, not even visual cue. If it's not there, your brain doesn't have those cues. No cookies, no smell. Why are you going to eat one? Here's a section of the book. We like to think we're in control. If we choose water over soda, we assume it's because we wanted to do so. The truth, however, is that many of the actions we take each day are shaped not by purposeful drive and choice, but by the most obvious option. So, going into the refrigerator, is it easier to eat something pre-made, processed, in a box that takes 2 ounces of effort, or having to think, meal prep, cook that steak? Whatever is obvious or easier, as human nature, we will aim for it because we want ease. We want to offload processes in the mind. The chapter before this talked about it. We like easy, we like repetitive, because it unloads a burden on the brain if we can go in an automatic way. The most powerful of all human sensory abilities, however, is vision. The human body has about 11 million sensory receptors. Approximately 10 million of those are dedicated to sight. Out of sight, out of mind. Does this ring a bell? Some experts estimate half of the brain's resources are used on vision. Given that we are more dependent on vision than any other sense, it should come to no surprise that visual cues are the greatest catalyst of our behavior. For this reason, a small change in what you see can lead into a big shift in what you do. Now, this is not to depress anyone, because we can become an architect of our environment. That doesn't mean you need to build a new house and put everything in order. No, sometimes it requires we just change how rooms are set up. We move things. My suggestion always stands. If you live in a household that people are eating non-carnivore, non-keto foods, ask them, have a conversation with them about putting all of that food in one cabinet, or keep it in their room. If you have stuff in the refrigerator that just triggers you, like a loaf of bread, cover it up with a hand towel. There are tons of small things we can do to get that out of sight, out of mind, to stop having those hunger triggers that we need to eat something that we shouldn't be. If you want to make a habit a big part of your life, make the cue a big part of your environment. For Scott and I, going to the gym, we've been very inconsistent about it until recently. I did some habit stacking and I stacked it with, we're going to do it prior to our morning walk. The things that you can do to cue this is setting an alarm. So now every time the alarm goes off at 6, I know instantly, get up, brush teeth, put gym clothes on, go to the gym. It's just that simple. Lay the clothes out ahead of time. Write it down, places that constantly remind me, okay, tomorrow is arm day at the gym. Make the cues big, make them involved, and incorporate them throughout your life. Later on in the chapter, he talks about context is the cue. I found this section extremely interesting, how our behavior is not defined by the objects in the environment, but our relationship to them. A couch. It can mean a very different thing to me than it does Scott. Let's say in the evening, the couch is an hour of reading every single night. It's a habit I have. Versus for Scott, this is not true, but for Scott, let's say it's watching TV and eating a pint of ice cream every night. It's still a couch. The object doesn't have the meaning. It's our relationship with it. Here's another section. It's easier to associate a new habit with a new context than to build a new habit in the face of competing cues. It can be difficult to go to bed early if you watch TV in your bedroom. It can be hard to study in the living room without getting distracted if that's where you always play your video games. When you step outside your normal environment, you leave your behavioral bias behind. You aren't battling old environmental cues, which allows new habits to form without interruption. Want to think more creatively? Move to a bigger room, a rooftop patio, or a building with expansive architect. Take a break from the space where you do your daily work, which is also linked to your current thought patterns. If you have a room that, example, Scott's computer is a play computer and a work computer. And throughout the day, I do see him, he gets tempted to take a break from work and to play on it. It is better to have a this is work, this is play area, because then you don't get the competing cues of what you need to do. Not that everybody can afford 2 computers, because Scott has 1 computer. But what can be done is maybe you do work on the computer and then you play your video games on the TV. Break things up. Also, if you have a room, rearranging it, moving things around, creating a new environment from the stuff you already have can be the beginning stages. Just kind of jostling things up can give you that new feeling without spending a penny. A suggestion Scott had. If driving to or from work, you stop and get coffee or donuts, go a different direction. If going to the grocery store just triggers you to want to buy bad things, go to a different grocery store, because then you don't know the layout of it and you have to be more conscientious of what you're buying. To sum this all up, if you're struggling with cues that are wanting you to eat or do things you don't want to do, look and assess what in the environment can be changed. What can you move around? What can you do to decrease that cue or increase the cue if you want to improve a habit? As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys so very much. Do not forget, in August on the 1st, we are starting a new habit challenge in the locals community. You can find the information in the description below. I appreciate you, as I said, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.